Hi, this is Norm Duke. You're listening to Above180.com with Tim Berg and Joey Serrar.
Above180.com, taking your bowling game to the next level. Tim Berg and Joey Serrar are ready to hit the lanes, approaching the issues that you, the bowler, want to know. From the latest equipment reviews and coaching to drilling layouts. Now, from Washington, D.C. and the Bowlers Pro Shop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, here are your hosts, Tim Berg and Joey Serrar.
Joining us on the Above180.com podcast today is Mike Jasnau. Mike is a PBA champion as well as a USBC Silver Certified Coach and Bowlers Journal Top 100 Coach. And Mike has done over 6,500 video lessons. He's considered to be one of the best instructors in the country and is entering his 13th year of coaching at the National Bowling Stadium. Mike runs the Lane 81 there. Mike, Tim Berg, and Joey Serrar here. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity to let everybody know about what I do here.
Great, Mike. Well, let's begin. First off, just tell people what do you do, what Lane 81 does for bowlers, and your setup at the National Bowling Stadium.
Well, it's a great setup here at the National Bowling Stadium. In the Pro Shop, we have a full-length lane, everything in regulation, full-length approach, full-length lane. I have the USBC 2011 Open Championship condition down for the lessons, so you get a chance to bowl on the condition you'll bowl on in the event. I have video. I break everything down in your approach, side view, back view, close-up of the release to a tenth of a second. We also have one of the only CAT systems here on the West Coast. That's a computer-aided tracking system. Gives you lots of good information about what the ball does on the lane. Ball speed, speed control to 100th mile an hour, accuracy to 100th of a board, angles to 100th of a degree. And so we get a lot of good information here on this lane.
My question is, when someone comes in and you do the videotaping, sometimes just little keys tend to be helpful as opposed to revamping their game.
Exactly. Very rarely do I have to revamp a whole game. You know, the majority of the people that come into me are a little bit on the higher level. I have worked as low as a 47 average. You know, so it goes from the whole range from a complete beginner to the top touring pros that come in for help.
Well, Mike, let's touch briefly on the pattern there at the National Stadium for the USBC Open today. It is 41 feet, which is a foot longer. Just talk about what you see and what bowlers are seeing, and maybe a couple of the common mistakes that you're seeing when you stand back from a distance and watch bowlers and wonder why they're not scoring. Sure.
I think compared to last year's pattern, it's pretty similar. And I can tell you, for being a sports shot, this is a really, really nice shot. Now, that being said, you've got to bowl well to see how nice the lanes are. I think the main difference in the pattern this year to last year, this year there's quite a bit more head oil. And as well, there's more back end. Now, it's a little bit deceiving. Yes, the overall pattern is a foot longer, but with the drop brush system in the machine, the actual heavier oil is shorter. So the ball kind of scoots through the heads a little bit cleaner, which also gives more back end motion, as well as there being more back end this year. And I think one of the biggest things I see that people do badly on this pattern, and it's common with most house bowlers, in my opinion. They want to see the ball go long and snap hard. And on this type of condition, the lane is giving you that, the skid snap. So if you use a ball that also gives you that skid snap, it's very hard to control and be consistent.
Right. So due to that environment, Mike, let's take an average bowler spec, someone with, say, a 16 mile an hour to 16.5 off the hand ball speed, near a 300 rev rate. I'm using my specs, by the way. 12-degree axis tilt, 80-degree rotation, generally very consistent with speed, and lane playability anywhere from, say, board 2 to fifth arrow. Should a player like that use more pin downs to control the back end motion when the ball leaves the pattern?
Yeah, that is a good drilling. Now, I have a question for you. How do you know your speed is 16 to 16 and a half off your hand? Is that the reading you see on the score monitor, or is that something you've had checked?
I've had it checked on CATs as well as with Bowler's Map, and typically on the monitor it will register about 14.5.
Okay.
So we typically add 2 miles an hour to that?
When you come out here, we're going to work on developing better ball speed for you. Okay.
Good.
Because
at my
if your
age,
rev rate,
that's a given. I need that.
okay. Because if a rev rate of 300 with a ball speed at low to mid 16, you're hooking the lane too much because of low ball speed. So two ways to combat the condition, so to speak, is a pin down drilling is a more stable condition off the pattern. It's not going to jerk left off the pattern. It's going to roll, but not be angular. The other solution to that is adding a little bit of surface to the ball. When you add surface, the purpose of adding surface to the ball on this type of pattern is not to give you a lot of hook. It's actually to control where and how much the ball does hook.
So are you finding bowlers are using more surface, say on this year's pattern compared to last year's pattern, to basically just control that back end motion?
Not necessarily. I don't think this is the type of pattern where you want a lot of surface. When the back end is very dry, if there's a lot of surface, it'll start to hook a little bit too soon and not have enough energy at the pins. So, a moderate surface around 2,000, I think, has been working very well.
And that's basically what I've been hearing from customers of mine that have returned from the tournament. Also, it appears from the videos I've watched and the bowlers I've spoken to, players with maybe a little more forward roll, end-over-end roll, especially in games 1 and 2 of team, tend to have a little bit better look than those who tend to come around it quite a bit?
Yeah, overall. But, most bowlers come around a little bit early. So that's where a little surface, a pin-down drilling can help negate some of the angular motion on the back end.
Okay, and are you seeing, as the pattern breaks down, let's hypothetically say there is a pair that has 7 bowlers working together, are the better adjustments to shell down and stay similar to where you've been with feet and target, or to make your parallel move, say a 2-and-2 move or a 4-and-2 move?
I think it's better to stay with the same ball initially, for at least a few moves. 2-and-1s, maybe a couple of little parallel moves in there once in a while. I think it's good to stay with that same ball, same motion for at least through game 1 into game 2. And as you're moving in, if you don't lose your pin carry, by all means, don't switch balls. If you start to move in deeper, and sometimes when that happens, a pin down drilling or a ball with more surface will tend to hit weak. You'll start leaving a weak 10 and square up, leave a 4-pin, carry goes away. That's a good sign to either make a bigger move with that same ball or switch equipment.
So overall break point when the ball comes off the pattern, and I know this is a difficult question for you to answer, but after speaking with Mo Pinnell, and Mo, as you know, genius, borderline genius, he feels the best break point on that pattern, looking at the graph, can be around boards 5 or 6. Yet the videos I've watched on bowl.com, it appears as though the break point or off the pattern could be more 8, 9, or 10. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do, actually. And with the CAT system, I can measure break point to a 10th of a board. So I've done quite a bit of experimentation on the fresh condition, different equipment, different surfaces, playing different lines. And I can tell you, I have kind of mid-17 ball speed off my hand, around 300 rev rate, just kind of normal release, stay behind it fairly well for not bowling anymore. And I have between about 5 and 8 at my break point to hit the pocket. When the pattern is shorter, as it is this year, even though the overall length is longer, the heavier soil is shorter, you need to be further away from the pocket when the ball breaks. So I agree. I think the break point should be between about 5, 6, 7. For straighter guys, maybe 7, 8. On my lane here, when I bowl on the fresh, if I'm left of 8 at the break point, a lot of shots go high. When I talk about a break point of 6, 7, say, that's sliding around 20. That's not sliding at 30 and swinging the whole lane to that. A lot of people that say there's hang this year are sliding left of 25 on the fresh condition.
So in other words, keeping your launch angle reasonably closed with sliding more toward, say, 18, 19, or 20, obviously on the fresh makes more sense. As the pattern breaks down, then you can increase your launch angles?
Exactly. As the pattern breaks down, you'll be making those moves. So, yeah, I see teams starting out, the straighter players, probably a hair right at 10. The guys with a lot of hand, and I've worked with some guys with rev rates close to 500. And in the team event, they were playing 12, 13, 14 at the arrows, break point 5, 6, 7. So same basic break point, just get there a little bit differently. As they break down, everybody starts moving in, they tend to open up.
I have a kind of a unusual question to ask you, but let's say you're in a situation where you're set up for doubles and singles, and you go to your pair to kind of see how they're being broken down, and unfortunately you see some classified bowlers on that pair throwing down the middle of the lane. What's your best suggestion for bowlers, say, of the higher skill level to do to counteract that, knowing that the lanes could be tighter down lane than they were even in team?
Well, and you bring up an excellent point. And the point is, before your doubles and single squads, do your homework. Show up early. Find out what 4 lanes you're going to bowl on. Don't just look at your first pair. Look at both. And they could play completely differently. Especially if you're left-handed. You might have 3 lefties on one pair, none on the other. They're going to play differently. Now, I think that you have to have an open mind. If you see a classified team bowling ahead of you, you shouldn't think, oh, my God, I'm screwed. I'm not going to bowl well. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you definitely have to keep an open mind. You can look at the positive of that. If they're throwing plastic balls down the middle, yeah, you're going to have a lot of hold, okay? And I agree the backhands might be pretty tight, so you're going to have to tighten up your angles, play a little bit tighter line.
Regarding the equipment choice for bowlers, say an individual comes to you and he has 2 pieces that, in your opinion, aren't going to work. In other words, say it's a 5-inch pin way above the fingers, high polished surface, and the other ball is similar as well. Will you recommend for that bowler to at least change one of those balls, or possibly purchase another ball to give them, say, a viable look just due to the way they throw a ball?
Absolutely. In fact, I have pads here. I'll change surface on the spot. And in fact, I did that. Kelly Bonta, who's currently leading all events, was in here. His surface was a little bit off. I added some surface. The first ball he threw, he saw the difference in the ball roll, and he had more room for error.
What are some tips that you may have for bowlers coming out to Reno as far as when they're back here, back at their hometown, maybe getting ready to get their arsenal ready, just what you think they should have in their bag?
Well, hopefully you can bowl in some kind of sport condition just to get some idea of where your game is. On a house shot, you can make big mistakes. It doesn't matter. You don't see the results of big mistakes. Any sport shot, you'll see where your game is at. Okay, if you're bowling a sport shot and you average 40 pins lower than a house shot, there's an issue in your game causing that. I would recommend doing some work on your game, getting some video analysis done, see what's going on with your game.
So in your opinion, do you feel even in singles event, and say a bowler follows some quality bowlers in front of them, and they're going to be forced to be left of third arrow, do you think then it's possible that a skid snap reaction could give them a good look, or are they still better off with a smooth motion?
No, as the lanes break down and you move in, definitely want to go to something with a higher pin, maybe a little bit less surface, so you can get away from the pocket and have it recover stronger. The more controlled reaction is more for the fresh condition. Okay, and anyone who bowls PBA stuff, sport leagues, they should always have a nice pin down drilling for a fresh condition. It's a more predictable reaction. Not only does it give you more room for error, it keeps you out of trouble more effectively.
Yeah. And I totally agree in that pin down basically allows that court to respond slower and smoother toward friction, allowing the ball to be a little more readable and possibly give the bowler a little bit more room for error if they miss inside their target.
Without a doubt. And now, if you're out here, you don't have a pin down ball and you don't want to buy a ball, yeah, we can simulate that with surface. But I can tell you on the fresh condition, a pin-up ball with surface is not quite as good as a pin-down ball.
Well, Mike, we want to thank you for the time you have provided for us today. I know you're very busy, and hopefully, number one, go visit Mike, folks, when you're out there. If you're listening to this podcast, go to Lane 81. It's right at the USBC Bowling Center, just right there. We're going to have on our website, on above180.com, a flyer, which will have Mike's contact information, all the information we've been talking about today. And Mike, best of luck, and thank you again for joining us, and we'd love to do this again.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the opportunity, and look forward to seeing a bunch of you guys that are listening come in to see me here in Reno. I think the scores will be high this year already. Overall, the scores are higher than last year. I would not be surprised at all to see a team shoot a big score over 3,400, 3,450 in team event. That's what I'm looking for, a winning score. Hopefully it's somebody that's listening.